Hello, everybody. Welcome to yet another edition of your favorite fucking podcast, Deep Fat Fried.
Hey, everybody. Howdy. How's everything going?
Who's this?
What do you mean, who's this?
What are you talking about, TJ? It's your old friend, your old pal.
It's your old friend, Francis Beauregard.
Francis Beauregard. Oh,
That's
yeah.
me. You remember me.
Oh, okay. Francis Beauregard. Right.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's
cool.
me, Francis Beauregard, Southern gentleman.
Yeah, that makes sense.
How y'all doing today?
Doing wonderful.
The gay conservative Southerner is one of my favorite archetypes.
Well,
around here.
I'm your favorite then.
Yeah, dude.
Oppress me. Take away my rights. Treat me like a second-class citizen. That's my thing.
Well, they're usually in the closet.
Oh, usually.
But, you know.
I'm straight as an arrow. What are you talking about?
Apparently, I have. I'm influencing fucking Dutch politics now.
You are?
I guess.
What?
What did you do?
How?
I don't know if I should even say, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
What are you doing?
No, dude, I don't care about anything else. Like, you're influencing. How is that happening?
Apparently, just want to notify you. I have been appointed as a member of the board of a large political party in my country. I will continue promoting individuality, independent thought, and real freedom in a manner that you have laid out in your past videos. So I have now reached the level.
Have you done due diligence on this to make sure this is not just some meme lord?
I don't care. I'm just.
It
gonna,
is.
I'm going to
Get out of here, TJ.
It's real. It's
Nice
real.
try,
Fuck outta
TJ.
here.
Nice try.
It is real.
Hi, I'm a movie producer, and I just want to let you know that even though none of them will ever get made, your ideas are the best in the industry, and you've been a huge influence on my thinking.
Whatever. I've influenced fucking world events.
Oh,
my
hi,
friend.
it's me, Superman. I just want to tell you that when I'm saving the world, TJ, it's your words that are echoing through my head.
It's true. It's true.
Get the fuck out of here.
You could
As
choose,
far as I
choose
know,
not to believe.
the only influence you've had is
Did you do any due diligence on this? Did you look
No,
this
he
guy
really
up
didn't.
and see if
I don't
he's
need- who
listed
did-
on a website for a party?
Who needs to? Who needs to do that?
TJ.
I don't need to do that.
TJ, I'll grant you some influence. You have the ability to scam people, TJ. Clearly, your
yeah.
RV trip, not productive, all the other things. I mean, scam.
Yeah.
And TJ, you influence people's eyeballs. You had your famous banana video.
Yeah.
And TJ, the cherry on top. Let's not forget this: the mass shooters that did it in your name.
Yeah.
Yeah, back in the day, you used to have influence, but it wasn't over, upstanding members of society, TJ. You've influenced...
I don't want to
the
influence upstanding members of society.
Then why are you
I wanna
crowing about this?
I guess in
Because
that way, TJ's
I'm poisoning Dutch politics.
Poisoning it.
Yeah.
Get out of here. If this guy is involved in politics at all, he's probably running for the clerk of a city council or something.
He's been appointed to the fucking board of a major political party, I'll have you know.
Dude, he's a postal clerk, TJ.
He doesn't tell you which one?
Nope. He doesn't need to. He doesn't need to.
I know he loves
Accept it.
supports me.
You know what, you guys? I understand your jealousy. I understand the jealousy you have. Against,
Jealousy?
yeah, you're just
Dude,
jealous.
if you prove this happened, I'll be jealous.
Yeah, totally.
If you can prove that this is like an actual candidate that has actual sway over
well, he never
fucking
said he was
Dutch
a candidate,
politics.
but
Well, whatever. A power player in Dutch politics is listening to you. Then, you know what I mean? I'm all ears, TJ.
all right,
But based on
fair enough.
some meme lord's little fucking email to you trying to stroke your ego, nah, dude, I get that too.
TJ,
No.
you're so special and wonderful, and everything you've ever done is brilliant.
You guys just can't
TJ's
fucking handle the fucking tremendous fucking weight of my
And
influence.
TJ's
What's really going on
ego
here?
grew 3 sizes that day.
Hey, I just can't help it. I'm an influential person.
TJ, I'm running for the alternate secondary dog catcher in a little suburb of Tuscaloosa, and I just want to let you know that your thought has influenced dog catching here.
That's good.
Get out of here.
Check this out. You guys think I'm not relevant like I used to be? Well, let's see what Twitter has to say about that, huh? Look at that. Relevant people.
Oh.
You see that?
Damn! I spoke too soon.
Yeah.
Wow.
What now, motherfuckers?
Shut down.
You shut this shit
I'm
down.
done, dude.
Where's that blue check mark, though, TJ?
Yeah, what
I'm
is
too.
that?
They offered it to me, and I was like, I don't want that.
I mean, somebody that's
I don't want
truly
it.
relevant would have the blue check
No,
mark.
I told them I didn't want it. They offered it to me. They're like, yeah, we want to. They even told me they want to give me a special red check mark.
The only one on the site.
Right. They wanted to fucking give me a special check mark, but I'm like, look, I'm no different than any other person.
They wanted to
just
give
because I'm better in every way.
TJ, you're right. They wanted to give you a scarlet letter to warn everyone about you. You're right.
The universe in your head is frightening, TJ.
Oh, yeah.
It
It's
really
terrible.
is.
Someone once told me that they felt that the universe is that my brain is the Matrix and that everyone else is just caught within it, or my ego is the Matrix and everyone else is just trapped within.
That sounds about right.
So yeah, that makes sense to me.
Well, TJ, we're not fucking here today to talk about the ego of TJ, are we? Is that why we're here?
We should be, but I guess
okay.
not.
If you want,
That's one of the episodes I'm doing next week.
If you want to change the topic of the episode,
TJ's ego
today, TJ, I'm fine with it. Let's go ahead.
Okay.
What do you have pulled for TJ's ego?
All you have to do, like, basically, we could just spend the episode basking in my splendor if you want.
Or we could just sit and listen to TJ give like half-cocked, philosophical musings.
Oh yeah,
and
then
just like, just lap it all up.
Yeah,
like milk out of a saucer.
That sounds good.
All right, well, give us a half-baked philosophical musing.
That seems like what we should be doing every day on this show.
Half-baked. I want a half-baked philosophical musing from the deep brain of TJ right now.
A half-baked philosophical musing?
Yeah,
okay.
Give it to me. Because it's right off the top of your head. So.
Existence is meaningless. Well, that's true, though. I mean, I don't know. How can I can't do a half-baked philosophical musing.
Why?
Because I only speak, I can't half-bake it. Everything I say is just the unvarnished truth.
It's fully baked.
Of the universe.
If it's T for two, does that mean it's 2 for T?
Oh. Yeah, usually. Not necessarily, though.
See?
Not necessarily.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
All right, this ego episode's crashing and burning, dude. It's crashing and burning, TJ.
I don't think it is. I think you're just uncomfortable.
Crashed.
You're uncomfortable with my genius is really what's going on here.
That must be it.
Oh, you know what? I do have a story about this. The first picture you pulled for your research, Scotty, is this bacon air freshener. And I actually have experience with a similar product.
Do you really?
Yeah, I actually bought a bacon-scented incense pack.
I 1 year for Christmas. My ex mother-in-law, she was kind of known for, like, if you told her you liked something, you were just going to get nothing but that for Christmas.
Right.
And I was raving about bacon while eating breakfast with her one day. And for Christmas that year, I shit you not, I got like a shirt that looked like it was made out of bacon. I don't know if I got this air freshener, but I got a candle that you burned. It smelled like bacon.
Yeah.
I got a bunch of bacon, like bacon lotion.
Isn't the best thing that your mother-in-law knew about you was that you just liked bacon? It was like,
well,
what do I know about him?
Every year it was something different. She would pick up on something that you raved about during the year, whether it was bacon or like I think she caught me one year talking about how the Raiders were awesome, and that year I just got nothing but Raiders shit. So she was very good at gift buying because she zeroed in on shit that people liked and went over the top with it.
Well, I will tell you this: the bacon incense that I bought. That was the most. It basically had it emitted the most disgusting, shit flavored smell I could fucking possibly.
Didn't you buy that in Ohio?
I don't remember where I was.
Yeah, I think it was in Ohio. You bought. Then you're like, dude, it's gonna smell like fucking fresh cooked.
Yeah,
bacon
I was like, yeah, bacon smell all the time. Nope,
didn't work.
Nope. If you want that, you literally just have to cook bacon nonstop in your house.
I'm fine with that.
Which is not a bad idea.
So TJ,
yeah.
This is a revelation, dude. You want some philosophical shit, Paul?
Yeah.
No one likes waiting for the things they want.
I do.
Oh, you do?
No,
shit.
I don't. No, no one likes that.
Do you like waiting, Paul?
It depends, honestly.
Okay, fair
Sometimes
enough.
the wait can cause a little, like I've enjoyed waiting for this Dune movie. Like I want it to be out now, but all the speculation and me just kind of building it up, that's part of the waiting.
I agree with you there. So
yeah, there is something to be said for anticipation, I guess.
Look at Amazon Prime, TJ.
Yeah.
People love that when they order something online, it gets there the next day. Now, some places, even with Amazon, it can get there the same day. So it's potential in some part of the country, you get your bacon air fresheners today.
Yeah, order it in the morning, get it in the evening.
I mean, can you really blame anyone, though? The amount of time we have is not infinite, as Paul will remind us all the time. We're all insignificant specks in the vast of the cosmos.
Wow, this is my favorite episode so far.
You want your bacon air fresheners, and you want them now.
Of course.
And that's pictured here. I mean, look, and there's only 8. There's only 8 left in stock, guys. So if you want it, you better
order
act fast.
soon.
What is the longest you guys have ever waited for a movie to come out? Like something you anticipated as far as in.
Well, okay. It felt like a really long wait when I was a kid waiting for the next Star Wars movie.
Ah, okay.
Because, you know, there was a significant little chunk of time. There was like 10 years, right? Maybe more?
Well, you were born in
when was Return of the Jedi?
1984.
So 1984, and then when did
Phantom Menace?
Phantom Menace come out?
1999.
So yeah, it's over 10 years.
That's a long
Now,
fucking
I
wait.
wasn't like at 4 years old into Star Wars yet, but you know, like when I was 6, 7, 8, I got really into that shit. So that's about 10 years I waited for.
Return of the Jedi was 83, by the way.
Oh, 83, my
And it wasn't like it was back in the day either. You didn't get these little like teaser side properties of Star Wars. It was literally a Star Wars drought.
Yeah.
For like, you know what I mean? And everybody knew they were eventually going to make a new one, but it was also pre-internet largely. So we didn't have all these gossip sites to go to. We were just literally waiting.
As a kid, I had a subscription to a Star Wars magazine, that was hyping up the Phantom Menace for probably 2 or 3 years before it even came out.
I remember when they started hyping it up, but it was still, you know, like even if you take that off, for people that were really into it in 84, it was like 10 years between those. I remember it being tough waiting for that. Oh, you know what? Another one I remember waiting for as a kid? Batman.
Oh, okay.
Dude, forever I remember it was rumored that there was a new Batman movie being made, and I remember waiting for that too.
Oh yeah, and I remember, you know, like looking back on it now, it really wasn't that long of a wait. In fact, they probably should have taken more time to do it. But I was at the perfect age when the original Mortal Kombat movie came out.
Oh yeah,
and it ended on that cliffhanger, and I was like, ooh, yeah, Mortal Kombat at fucking 2's coming out. And I guess it was only like a year later or something, but man, it felt like an eternity. And of course, the thing we got was so disappointing. But
yeah, you ain't kidding there.
So that really wasn't that long of a wait, but it felt like a long wait.
So
and
guys,
it was a long wait for something horrible, as was the Star Wars wait.
So guys, let's just be real here. Waiting sucks, but if we know that we're going to get a truly entertaining experience, I think most of us just.
But usually we don't. I feel like.
I think most of us accept that as a reality.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you got to wait for something good. It takes a while to simmer some gumbo, you know what I mean?
Yeah. However, in some cases, it's just too fucking long. Tonight's episode is the longest wait for a movie. Some are sequels, and one is a remake that one of us on the show has been waiting a lifetime to see.
Oh, wow.
So, I will say that.
Wow, I'm teased.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a tease. We'll have to see, though. So take your time. They say good things come to those who wait. Whoever said that clearly wasn't waiting for some of the movies on this fucking list, because, wow, this is a long wait for this one. So how long?
That was a long wait.
How long do you think you guys think the wait was between?
It was 20 years.
So it was Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade,
right?
And then the next one, obviously the wait here, is Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Yeah, I mean, it was like...
I think it was 20 years.
It was like 20 years or so, right?
It was more than 20 years.
All right, so you
guys...
guys...
like 21, 22 years,
yeah,
maybe,
I want to say it was in the early... Yeah, 21, 22, 23-year wait.
The original release date of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade is May 24th, 1989. The sequel release date, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, May 22nd, 2008.
Okay, so that's like 19. That's like 19 years.
19 years.
Yeah, basically 19. It's 18 years, 364 days.
So
that's 19 years.
People's parents fucked creating an embryo, and that embryo was 18 or 19 years old in the time that there was no Indiana Jones.
Yeah, so basically,
fuck me.
Someone could have grown up in the time between.
Someone could be an adult between. Yeah, like if they were born when
if mom and dad fucked on the premiere night of The Last Crusade.
Yeah, you bust a nut.
The resulting child from that would be either almost an adult or a full-fledged legal adult by the time the next one was out.
Because if you consider the 9 months of they'd be an adult. They'd be have turned 18.
Right.
Yeah. So
that's fucking crazy.
Yeah, you could be an adult by the time. Yeah, it's literally an adult lifetime. You know, obviously it's the shortest point, but still, like you could have grown up with this entire trilogy and be an adult just as this movie's coming out.
One thing I want to make clear is there's definitely films that have had longer gaps, but when I did this list, I found a lot of these movies that had these great franchises that had these big gaps, and I was kind of just like, I really want to zero in on the ones I think people really remember and really talk about, because there's some that like I was looking at, it's kind of like that's kind of obscure, or that just never went anywhere. Like Tron is a great example of that. No one really cares about the Tron movie they made in fucking 2010 or whatever.
I liked the soundtrack.
Oh, I love the soundtrack. Okay, so the last film of the original Indiana Jones franchise had Harrison Ford team up with Sean Connery as his father. The film features, of course, them fighting Nazis to prevent them from getting the Holy Grail. Right?
And you know, there's supposed to be a new Indiana Jones movie in 2021.
Yes,
too,
that is true.
So.
Let me ask you this about just to give people an idea, because not the Indiana Jones franchise is dated at this point, and there might be people watching us that aren't really into it or haven't seen it. But I want to explain to you like how fucking good the Indiana Jones original trilogy is. It's like that the movies were trying desperately with each one to one-up themselves, and for the most part succeeded. I mean, arguably, the third in the trilogy, the third Indiana Jones film, is the finest.
Yes.
The Last Crusade is...
That's my favorite.
Great movie.
Absolute... It's not my favorite, but I just have nostalgia for Temple of Doom. Yeah. But I recognize it's a way more flawed movie. But you got to understand, man, how rare is it for the third movie in a franchise to be arguably the greatest?
Pretty fucking rare.
So,
yeah, many don't come to mind.
I mean, like, I personally like Return of the Jedi the best of the original Star Wars trilogy, but I don't really. I think if you're actually like trying to look at it on filmmaking merits and stuff, it's probably not the best.
I'm in the same boat.
Return of the Jedi is my personal favorite, but
a lot of people would argue The Empire Strikes Back.
I mean, that's the one that definitely has the most. It's the strongest contender for the best, probably.
So 19 years later, India returned for a new adventure with director Steven Spielberg and co-star Shia LaBeouf.
Ugh.
Or Shia LaBeouf, let's be honest. This time, the plot revolves around Soviets trying to get their hands on legendary skulls made out of crystal. Mm-hmm. The Indiana Jones films have developed such a strong following from the first movie. Basically, people were fucking hyping this up. They were very excited for this.
Right, because it's fucking Indiana Jones. I mean, of course people are hyping it.
I made a score, kind of a little fan, and said, how badly did people want it score? And I gave this one a 9 out of 10. People really wanted to see old man Harrison Ford again don Indy's signature sable fedora for another adventure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I was hyped for this movie.
I was super hyped. I was like, fuck yeah, Indiana Jones is back. And, I kind of had some reservations. Like, the reservations I had going in were not even really the problems with the movie. Because I was like, Harrison Ford's just too old. He's not going to really do it anymore. I mean, like, he seemed fine. Like, he was doing the stunts pretty well. When it was a stuntman, it was pretty seamless. It really didn't seem like that bad in that regard. It was literally like everything else where they dropped the ball. I think him physically, he was still in a pretty decent place to be able to do it. I don't know about now. I think it's pretty ridiculous.
I mean,
he can still do it now.
He was 66 when this movie was made.
Yeah, now he's in his fucking 70s.
He's like almost Bernie's age.
Yeah, I mean, he's like nearly 80 years old now.
That would be like, imagine Bernie swinging around.
Yeah, I mean, like, it just doesn't make fucking sense anymore.
But I will say that, Harrison Ford has kept himself in pretty good shape for being as old as he is. But I mean, yeah, it's really pushing believability.
It's really fucking stretching credulity at that point. But, whatever. I was wrong once about that. Maybe I'm wrong again. But
you could be.
The problem is this movie, there's a lot more wrong with this movie. Even if you do think that he was awkward because of his age, there's definitely way worse things about this movie than him or his performance or any of that.
Look how kind they were to Marion Ravenwood in this promotional poster.
Very kind.
Because I remember when she popped out in the movie, I was like, oh, man, ooh, it's been that many fucking years. She looks like she's right out of fucking Raiders of the Lost Ark in this picture.
Yeah, they painted her like she's still in her 20s there.
And it's like,
you can be a little more honest than that, I think.
Although they did fudge on Harrison quite a bit, too. In this representation.
Yeah, because he looks like he's about 40 in that that picture there. And
well, not to mention, in this poster, he really just dominates the poster completely.
I mean, as he should. I mean, he's Indiana Jones. I mean,
I mean, I'm not saying that's done wrongly. I'm just saying, like, yeah, if you're looking at that, well, I mean, he's definitely aged a little bit. But yeah, but you know what? The fact that he wears a hat, though, that makes him kind of look young because you don't see all those forehead wrinkles or anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
So when you got that fedora going on, it just makes you look a little bit better.
Sure. Yeah, he's about the only person in history that could make that claim, by the way.
I know, that's what I'm saying. The fedora usually does not do that to people.
It's usually a detractor.
I think the reason why other people look like dorks wearing fedoras is because of this character. Because look at what you had to rise to pull it off. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And you got this fat Cheeto dust stinking fucking World of Warcraft nerd wearing a fedora, and it's like, dude.
Good day to you.
That hat is besmirched by your presence underneath it.
Yeah, and then none of them ever accessorize with it either. They just kind of like slap it on.
Yeah, you don't see them wearing a fucking leather bomber jacket. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you gotta go a little bit. You gotta fucking accessorize if you're gonna try to pull off that hat. I have a few fedoras, but it's mostly they're actually trilbies, I guess. Whatever. But
this is actually called
I never
Sable
actually,
fedora.
I never
TJ.
actually owned one until people kept claiming I did. I was like, "You fucking fedora wearing blah blah blah." I'd actually never worn one. I'm like, man, if they're gonna keep saying this, I better get some. But I pretty much never wear them
Yeah, you kind of gave up on that.
because it's stupid. It's a stupid hat. It really doesn't.
Oh, whatever, dude.
It looks good. It looks good.
Unless you're Indiana Jones.
Yeah, it looks great on Indiana Jones, but that's about it. So here's what
Certified fresh.
20 years of waiting gets you. Did get certified fresh by critics, but audiences not as forgiving.
Definitely not. And, it's kind of hard to argue that's not an accurate representation. That's 1.3 million fucking votes.
Versus 272 votes in the fresh category.
Right, which is, but those are the important people.
Right.
Those are the critics.
So a small group of critics, see, that really does tell me that, movie criticism has completely fallen out of step with what people like, and it's so strange to me.
Yeah, and, I think the audiences, movie critics, they're like, oh, Spielberg and Ford and blah, 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 and then the audiences are kind of excited about that stuff, but then they see the result, and I don't know. Maybe people were pretty fucking harsh on this movie. Stuff that they probably would have forgiven. There's some pretty ridiculous shit in some of those other Indiana Jones movies that don't get nearly as much shit as, the nuking the fridge moment or
At what
something.
point are you not fresh? What percentage?
I think mid-50s. I think it's 55-ish or 60.
I think it's to be over 60 to be certified fresh.
Yeah, I think it's around there.
I mean, you have to remember that, too. Look, the last one was made in 89.
Yeah.
It wasn't a CGI spectacle. And now this one of the things it definitely suffered from, we're going to talk more about some of the worst moments from this film, but it really suffered from initially, Steven Spielberg and George Lucas, when they're going to make this, we're going to do very little CGI, and that number just ended up exploding. I think there was over 450 scenes. They had a lot of matte CGI paintings that were done.
Which is such a shame, because the movies that preceded this are all, master classes in practical effects.
Oh, yeah.
One of the reasons I love Temple of Doom, and a lot of people shit on Temple of Doom. They say it's the worst of the trilogy. Maybe it is. But it has my favorite scene in the entire series in it. The minecart escape. Which is
I knew
this
you were going to say that.
Brilliant.
crazy combination of actual roller coaster-esque minecart sets that were built, miniatures. It is just such an epically done practical effects scene. And to see this movie fall into the trap of everything's a fucking matte, everything's a green screen, was kind of it really sucked.
It was the thing with they're swinging through the trees basically, and you're kind of just what is this?
And if you take that scene and put it in the practical world, it could have been cool. They could have done some, wire fu, John Woo type of effects and shit.
Totally.
And had him whipping through the trees and swinging back and forth in front of a motorcycle and shit. They could have done it. And instead it just turns into this giant, horrible look. It hasn't aged well. The animal, there's a bunch of monkeys that help him out and shit, and they look like
horrible.
shit now.
Yeah, they look horrible.
They look like shit at the time, but they look even more like shit now. And if you go back and watch that scene in Temple of Doom, it looks as amazing and cool today as it did in fucking 1985 or 6 when it came out.
That's why this movie's hold up a lot better. I mean, the big misadventure with CGI is just what you're saying, is that the fact is that it usually doesn't hold up at all. And when you go back and try to rewatch these films, even if you're a fan of this, even if you're like, I really like this movie, what Paul's criticisms are still going to stand, because you're going to look at it and go, that monkey just doesn't look. Well, it doesn't look like it's there.
Let's see how it did. Let's move to Metacritic, but let me ask you guys this. So it's got about a 65 on Metacritic.
Can you scroll down a little bit so we can look at?
Is there a user ranking here?
Yeah, there's the users. Yeah. You want to illustrate 5.4, a lot more negative. Obviously, not as many people rated it in comparison, but
I want to ask you though, why is this movie terrible? Is it the CG? Is that where you place the blame?
No. I we can talk more extensively about it, but I first want you to show a scene from a TV show.
See, this gotta be. This South Park you gotta be careful about, because that's Viacom and they're super.
We'll just skip ahead to the relevant part.
So let's just maybe just kind of describe what's going on here. So Indiana Jones is walking through the woods.
So this is basically
Steven Spielberg and
obviously most people are familiar.
They're doing the scene from Deliverance here.
Deliverance is basically a movie where these guys go out whitewater rafting or whatever in the fucking bumfuck Alabama in some small town, and these are the kind of the locals that are unfortunately for Indiana Jones rapists here portrayed by George Lucas and Steven Spielberg.
George Lucas and Steven Spielberg get together. They corner Indy. They start humiliating him.
Force him to strip down.
Force him to
naked.
strip down. And then they corner him, and
No, won't we play it for maybe right here?
And they just
I'll just give you a little bit of the butt rape.
Like maybe 5 seconds.
Come on, squeal. Squeal now. Come on. Squeal. Whee! Squeal. Whee! Squeal louder. Whee!
And then, of course,
let's just get to some of the butt raping.
Yeah.
Get them britches down. Yes, sir. Come on, squeal.
So, South Park, basically, I think it's pretty clear what's being implied.
I don't think
here.
that.
I don't know. I need to explain.
I don't think
what's
it's
going on.
subtle. This is not a subtle
It's
criticism.
not exactly a subtle thing.
What does mean, TJ? So now we're talking about why this film is a steaming dog turd, and a big part of it, aliens.
Let me ask you this though. Well, you might have something to say about it. So
I do.
Go
Okay.
ahead. I'll ask you that question afterwards.
So it was around this time that Lucas also hit upon a new idea for how to approach the whole alien thing. And Spielberg's recounting of the experience on the Crystal Skull DVD bonus feature, The Return of Legend is Gold. Okay, so this is basically a quote from it. Then George came to me one day and said, you might be right about this alien thing. Maybe we shouldn't do aliens. There's too much stuff around it. I said, George, I love you. That's the best news you've ever given me. He said, yeah, they're not aliens. They're kind of extra-dimensional. I said, what? He said, you ever heard of string theory about different dimensions? I said, yeah. He said, okay, these interdimensional beings, they're not extraterrestrials. They're interdimensional. So I said, exasperated, fine. And what are they going to look like? George said, they'll look like aliens, but we'll call them interdimensional.
Oh, God.
So a big thing, to give you a
Wow.
backstory on this.
What
is
a
that-
point! Like George Lucas literally
So for
sitting there,
years,
like, shuffling around deck chairs on the Titanic and shit.
Well,
like,
let me give you the
oh
background.
no, they're not gonna be aliens. They're gonna be interdimensional beings that look like aliens, and that no one can tell the difference between them and aliens.
So let me give you the backstory of that. So they want to do this for years because they signed with Paramount back when they did this, they signed a big ass deal. Like, we're gonna make all these Indiana Jones movies,
Right.
And that time, Harrison Ford was kind of like in '89, like, I'm done with this. I want to do other shit, and obviously it was kind of hard because at that point Harrison Ford has a lot of clout in Hollywood. So he has and obviously since he's Indiana Jones, he has kind of veto over the script. He doesn't like what they keep bringing him different treatments and different versions. He doesn't like any of it.
He's in a bargaining position that
Yeah.
few actors ever get to be in because he's literally this iconic character.
Yeah, so
And he's not going to do anything he doesn't want to do. So you got to work with him.
And there's
because
no
you can't
there's no fucking second choice to play Indiana
right.
Jones.
You can't recast Indiana Jones.
Yeah. So George Lucas has this obsession with it. Oh, we need aliens, and Spielberg's like, I don't want to be aliens. I've already done the alien thing. Let's do something else. Let's do kind of more like the wheelhouse of what we were doing before. So there's kind of this debate between Lucas and Spielberg about the
And it seems
about
like
the aliens.
unfortunately George Lucas won the debate.
I mean, my understanding is that their role was minimized in the film. Like, there was a lot more that they were going to play a much bigger role.
Oh,
but-
the original idea that George Lucas had was literally like invasion of the saucers, with Indiana Jones literally fighting off an alien horde.
Yes.
That might have been cool, honestly.
Which I don't know. It sounds a little silly to me, but
I don't know that I agree that this was the biggest misstep in terms of concept. I think
I wanted to ask this. Well,
I think
that kinda
done right-
Hold on, I think you can bounce off what I want to say and ask here.
Okay,
and I'll
sure.
ask it to both of you. Why is it that throughout these films we can accept the Ark of the Covenant, and we can accept the Holy Grail, and we can accept Indian magic and sacrifices to ancient gods, but so many people draw the line at interdimensional beings? Nuh-uh. Not in my Indiana Jones movie.
I think it's their portrayal. I don't think it's that they did it. I think that obviously that you had two people with two creative visions. Actually, really three. You can include Harrison Ford. You have three different competing visions, and a lot of writers that worked on previous iterations of this even said that it's like basically in a room with three people that are kind of just scattershot about how to make this movie. Like, Harrison Ford has these ideas, Spielberg has these ideas, and Lucas has these ideas. When it finally gets made, it's like three competing visions for this movie.
well, the output was a mess. But I don't think it's just the aliens what done it, because I think that if the aliens were incorporated, if they either went farther with it and made it cool, or really minimized it more, I think it could have worked.
I mean, it could have, but I think that the aliens are kind of like symbolic of everything that went wrong with the movie. It's not that they were just in the movie and that's patently aliens are bad. It's not just the aliens are bad. It's just that nothing was cohesive. It was kind of a Frankenstein movie. Another thing about this movie too was I read was that Spielberg, didn't want to leave the country to make this movie. He's like, I want to be around my family. So he actually shot all the college scenes where his son was going to school, basically, where his son was going to college. They didn't really do the same sort of like ruling, like we're going to travel all the world, we're going to give these exotic locales, we're going to kind of do the thing where we take you all over the world and on a journey, which is kind of what people viewed Indiana Jones as, like this adventure where, you're going overseas to some land that you've never imagined, you've never, like that kind of majesty was gone and kind of just replaced with, like you said, Lucas and Spielberg kind of like, we're just going to do it in fucking Hollywood.
And there were hints of it. You know what I mean? They did like an Aztec kind of vibe. Well, that I think that if they would have run with that and made it, something in that universe would have been cool. But there just wasn't enough of it. The location wasn't the star like it is in a lot of the other. In fact, I think all of the Indiana Jones movies are these huge location pieces.
I just think Spielberg didn't have the right commitment for the film that was necessary to make that vision a reality. And I just think that if you look at the totality of it, it just didn't add up to a movie that I think. Look, some people like this movie, and I've seen its defenders. But I think for most people who are hardcore Indiana Jones fans are not happy with this installment. I won't say I'm all.
Well, I'm not hardcore, but I'm not happy with it.
I mean, I'm pretty fucking, like, for the original trilogy, they're some of my favorite movies of all time. All three of them rank up there for me. I was a huge fan of them as a kid. I was super hyped for this movie, and it was just a disappointment.
This is another moment that gets talked about a lot.
The lead-lined fridge, the only one ever made, by the way.
So he, for those of you who haven't seen this, he's caught in a nuclear bomb test and jumps in a refrigerator before the nuke goes off and gets blown like a mile through the air, and he's fine.
Yeah.
66-year-old man is fine when he rolls out of it. He survives.
I mean, I don't care what age you are. I mean, that's just pretty ridiculous.
And
but
no radiation problems either. He doesn't get horribly irradiated by this.
Well, they wash him off afterwards.
It doesn't matter. He's still well within the zone that he's going to have some fucking radiation.
Oh, they wash
burns.
him off. It's fine.
He's fine.
They wash off the radiation. But no, the thing
okay.
about this is it's like I watched this scene. I'm like, yeah, that's ridiculous. But there was literally a scene in Temple of Doom where they jump out of a fucking airplane, on a raft.
It's reminiscent,
and it falls like I don't know, thousands of feet, and then they fucking just hit the ground, and they're all fine, and the raft just kind of coasts for a while, and then they go off like another huge drop. And it's totally implausible. I mean, like, there's implausible shit in these movies.
It's implausible. Yeah, what's a movie? It's supposed to be a suspension of disbelief. But look, the thing is with those is that you still had to have that kind of physical kind of presence. So there's a physicality to that even though you're like, yeah, that's bullshit, it rings more true than having a giant fucking lead-lined fridge fly fucking 2 miles through the fucking goddamn air. Lands. Harrison Ford obviously is just, and it rolls out fine.
I just think people are more nitpicky now. I just think that people are not as willing to forgive this sort of campy, cheesy bullshit that they used to be.
That's possible. So the film was also criticized for several unrealistic moments, including a CGI gopher, and a scene in which Jones survives a nuclear explosion by locking himself in a refrigerator dubbed Nuking the Fridge. On the latter, Spielberg revealed that he takes full responsibility. He added, "The gopher was good, and I have the stand-in one at home. What people really jumped at was Indy climbing into a refrigerator and getting blown into the sky by an atom bomb blast. Blame me, don't blame George. That was my silly idea. People stopped saying jump the shark, now they say nuke the fridge. Or nuke the fridge. I'm proud of that. I'm glad I was able to bring that into popular culture. And jumping the shark is still around."
Yeah, I still, probably say jump the shark more than I would say nuke the fridge.
Yeah, I'm kind of still in that camp, too. So, TJ...
Here's Fallout making fun of the fridge moment.
Yeah, this is from Fallout New Vegas,
where they have the fridge, a more realistic depiction of how that strategy would work.
I liked that at least it was tried. It just didn't work out that well. So TJ,
they gave it a shot. They gave it its fair shake.
How did this movie do at the box office?
Really well, I believe.
Let's see. I would say pretty well.
Yeah.
So domestically, it made $317 million, international $469 million, for a worldwide total of $786 million.
Yep. So that's on a basically $185 million budget, and then you figure another fucking $100 million or so for advertising. But that's Hollywood accounting.
Even doing Hollywood accounting, it's a hit.
Yeah, I mean, you make $800 million on a movie that you spent, maybe $200 million on. That's pretty good.
Yeah, and dude, Harrison Ford made a ton of money off this movie because he actually took a lower salary because of the higher budget for, of course, profits on the film, and doing as well as it did, he probably made fucking
I'm sure
$50-60 million.
Yep. So I mean, it was a hit. I think it would have been a bigger hit if it was a better movie with better word of mouth on it, but
I mean, for being
still an Indiana Jones movie.
For being a 20-year-old fucking movie based, or 19 years old.
But a legendary franchise, though.
But not everything that comes back makes $800 million.
Sure.
I mean, so it was one of those rare things, like, critics liked it, audiences so-so, but it didn't really matter at the end of the day because it still made a shit ton of fucking money.
I mean, it's kind of like the fucking current Star Wars movies position.
Yep.
Like, it's going to make worldwide, it's going to make a lot of fucking money.
People talk a lot of shit about it, but it still keeps cleaning up.
Yeah, I believe The Rise of Skywalker is at $485 million.
Crossed $1 billion worldwide.
Yeah, so made another $1 billion.
Keep on cranking out them Star Wars.
So our next entry, TJ.
Print that money.
Our next entry, I think we all know pretty well. This is Return of the Jedi, and it's actually Star Wars The Force Awakens. So the original release date, which you were right, TJ, is May 25th, 1983. The Force Awakens, of course, was released December 18th, 2015. Total elapsed time, 32 years, 207 days.
Right, because the stuff in between was prequels.
Yeah.
So it took that long to continue that story.
Yeah, so the Star Wars franchise is difficult to keep track of in terms of sequels because a series of prequels released in 1999 made the 70 Star Wars films the first literal sequels. That notwithstanding, Star Wars The Force Awakens is the narrative sequel to Return of the Jedi, with new characters searching for Luke Skywalker, as original characters like Princess Leia and Han Solo try to aid the rebel forces against the Empire. Both the original films and the new sequel trilogy have been immensely successful, taking in billions of dollars collectively at the box office. So I put, of course, again, how badly do people want to see it? 10 out of 10. Give me this fucking shit now.
Gimme.
Gimme. I want this fucking shit now. And when this was announced, people were fucking losing their minds. So this is where it all started.
People were crying.
Oh, yeah.
People were like literally making video, like when the trailer came out, people were literally making reactions where they're like, oh, Star Wars is back.
So this is the genesis of this.
And now they're crying for a different reason.
Disney buys Lucasfilms for $4 billion, targets Star Wars Episode 7 for 2015.
Right.
So you all kind of remember this shit, Lucas finally sold out. And we have the second paragraph is a quote from him.
Okay.
Can you scroll down? For the past 35 years, one of my greatest pleasures has been to see Star Wars pass from one generation to the next. Lucas, the sole shareholder of Lucasfilm, said in a press release announcing the acquisition. It's now time for me to pass Star Wars on to a new generation of filmmakers.
Oops.
Oops.
Fumble!
Oops from what perspective, though? Because they're printing money with it.
Yeah. Well, George Lucas is not reportedly not very happy with what was done with his IP. So
we'll talk about that. Look, Lucas had nowhere else to really go with this property. He kind of done the extent of what he had done with it, and he's getting up there in years. $4 billion for the thing. It seems like a pretty good deal for him. Now, yeah, you can
time to cash out.
Kind of bitch and moan about it, but
which he has.
He knew what the fuck was going on when he sold the company. It wasn't like they're going to be like, okay, we sell it, we're gonna buy it, but you still have creative control.
I really thought when this happened, by the way, I was really happy about it. I thought they were going to treat it the same way they've treated Marvel, where they took something that they were going to really fucking push it to its like potential and create this like vast cinematic universe of fucking Star Wars pictures, use the fucking Marvel template and just put it out there, and just introduce this wide variety of different characters and themes and plots and things.
Well, Bob
that
Iger,
all kind of fall under one singular umbrella.
Well, if you go scroll up, so we can look at the picture again. I just wanted to read that part of the article. So this is Robert Iger, Bob Iger, who was the CEO of Disney at the time. The initial vision of this was done in 2012, was that, okay, it's going to be 3 years for the first one, but then every 2 years we're getting a Star Wars movie. And obviously the critical reception and the box office, like things like Solo bombing, have really affected the plan. And actually currently, Disney's actually confirmed that Star Wars, as far as the film, are on a hiatus. Like there's not any new films being worked on currently, as far as they're willing to reveal.
Right.
Well,
I don't believe that for a fucking second.
Well, actually, I just read some news that the guy's name is impossible for me to pronounce, but the guy who directed the last episode, the season finale of The Mandalorian, has actually been approached to make a new Star Wars movie.
Well,
So-
didn't fucking the two guys that were the producers of the Game of Thrones TV series leave to work on Star Wars?
But that's already fallen out. That's already fallen through. I think Disney looked at look what they did to Game of Thrones. Star Wars is already kind of
Suffering
on
from
rocky
that.
territory right now with the fans. So I don't think we need to fucking add this to our fucking
And see,
plate.
all they did with Game of Thrones was rush it. Like, if
Yep.
those guys had taken their time to tell that story, I genuinely believe Game of Thrones would have been a fucking masterpiece all the way through.
Oh yeah, and I mean they could have if they'd have.
But they rushed it to get a job, and that rush job that they performed to get the job ended up losing them the job.
Yep, I think that's actually what happened.
Good.
Yeah,
It's almost like something that would happen to a normal pleb. You know what I mean?
Made a fucking last horrible season of a show. Yeah, actually, your services are no longer required. So there's all the jokes that came about.
the jokes, huh?
So it's kind of the reaction.
This is just that scene in Star Wars when the Empire gets bought out by the even bigger Empire. That's not a very good joke.
Terrible joke, but
With the threat of the Galactic Empire gone, Episode 7 will be a sitcom about Luke and Leia trying to balance work and relationships. Update. In the next Star Wars movie, Darth Vader will be played by some random Jonas brother. Okay.
They weren't far off the fucking map.
Yeah, with Kylo Ren, right?
Yeah.
Disney Star Wars, they could remake Old Yeller with Jar Jar Binks and give it a happy ending. Disney owns Marvel, Disney owns Lucasfilm. Prepare mortals for the long-awaited return of Howard the Duck.
Oh, shit. That would have been cool.
With Disney's acquisition of Lucasfilm, I can't wait to see the new hit Disney Channel series, That's So Revan. All right.
I get it. I get it.
Great, just what people on the internet needed. Another excuse to talk about Star Wars. God help us if Disney ever acquires bacon.
Man, these poor people had no idea what they were in for.
Patton Oswald here. Not saying Twitter's in a nerd frenzy about the Disney Lucasfilm Star Wars 7 news, but I tried to post earlier and I got my arm ripped off. None of these jokes are funny.
No.
they're not funny. But people are already kind of like starting to poke fun at like, what is this really going to be? Now, I kind of searched for like people's reactions. I really want to see what people at the time were thinking, and I found this thing from actually from Wired. This guy named Ethan Gilsdor wrote, and it almost
I'll just put Lucas on the screen.
it almost feels prescient.
Maybe I should find a picture of this Ethan Gilsdor guy.
Because I read this and I was like, God, it's like this guy had a fucking time machine.
All right, hold on. Let me find him. Let me see if I can find a picture of this fucker so we can have his picture on the screen while he's talking.
Well, I'll start reading anyways.
Yeah, go ahead.
So my initial response, to the Lucasfilm buyout was horror. Like a lot of creative types, as a writer,
This guy's awesome.
I fear the gradual, inevitable conglomeration of the entertainment business. Anytime the two huge companies merge, the result is fewer choices, not more for us consumers, as well as fewer choices for us as creators to get our works into the marketplace. Like when a jungle gets raised for cattle grazing land, the underbrush with its quirky and oddball activity and species disappears. Say goodbye to a diverse ecosystem of creativity. Make way for USDA beef. Disney will be aiming for the stars, long space shots at the mega blockbuster. With Star Wars and Raiders Indiana Jones properties now capturing the walls of the Magic Kingdom, there's no doubt we will see more of the same, and perhaps less of what is risky, innovative, and unique. Narrative intellectual properties, whether expressed as books, movies, or video games, will play even more of to the common denominator, which is getting more common all the time. I mean, it's just obviously not very optimistic about this, and kind of all our worst fears. But when I let my doom and gloom subside, I did have a second thought, even a new hope. At least my beloved Star Wars empire, whose magic George Lucas has slowly diluted with his endless tinkering, and certainly nearly wrecked with bad storytelling in 3 prequels, perhaps it can be saved. I think Lucas got too big, too powerful, and his vision grew too weak. No one stopped him to say, you know what, George, these scripts sucks. Same with Indiana Jones, which Spielberg and Lucas jointly messed up. Perhaps the Disney gang, if they can assign the right writers and directors, can undo some of the damage done in episodes 1, 2, and 3. But I don't think it's necessarily Disney to the rescue, and Mickey your only hope. Any number of filmmakers from Peter Jackson to Joss Whedon to Sam Raimi could also save the Star Wars franchise. Let's hope someone does.
Oops.
Well, Didn't happen.
I mean, yeah, just talking about the mass media conglomeration and just the fact that, yep, it did play the most common denominator. It really just played to a larger audience. You know, there's some definitely nostalgia buttons being pushed, but ultimately it's just not really a Star Wars for Star Wars fans. It's Star Wars for the mass market.
Oh, yeah. Let's look at the top of George Lucas's head. Can we just talk about what a weird fucking that no neck shit?
Lucas is one of those people that looked normal when he was younger, then just he started becoming one of his characters.
Some people just as they age, their neck just bullfrogs.
Well, he was one of those people.
And he is definitely one of those people.
But he accentuates it with that fucking facial hair too.
Yeah.
It's like he's showing us the border where his neck should be.
Which just makes it even more distracting.
Leaving the big old bullfrog hanging. Just grow a big old bushy beard.
Yep.
So, as you guys know, and you touch on this, TJ, Lucas had some initial ideas and treatments and kind of this kind of narrative structure you want to do with beyond Return of the Jedi, but early on it became clear that Lucas was not going to get his way. So, as a creative consultant on the film, Lucas attended early story meetings and advised on the details of the Star Wars universe. Among the materials he turned over to the production team were rough story treatments for episodes 7 through 9, which Lucas requested only be read by Kennedy, Bob Iger, Alan F. Horn, and Kevin A. Mayer. Lucas said Disney had discarded his story ideas and had no further involvement with the film. So early on, Lucas is basically out. Like, he has all these ideas, and they're kind of like, man, bitch, we bought it.
It's ours now. Fuck you. Get out of here.
So there's kind of a problem then. So now we don't have the visionary sort of leader or shot caller for the Star Wars franchise. So now Disney is searching for a director, in steps Spielberg. So Spielberg's like, look, to Kathleen Kennedy, who basically at the time of acquisition
Here's Spielberg
became
the
president of Lucasfilm. She's like, and he's like, you know what? Give it to this kid here. He's made a lot of shit that people like. Give it to him.
Give it to JJ.
Give it to JJ Abrams, man. So he was named the director in 2013, with Lawrence Kasdan and Simon Kinberg as project consultants. Lawrence Kasdan, you remember, was the writer on Return of the not Return of the Jedi. Actually, was on Return of the Jedi and also The Empire Strikes Back.
Man, I wish we would have gotten a Spielberg Jedi. God damn it, a Spielberg fucking sequel. That could have been great.
But hey, he gave it to JJ, man. Come on, he gave it to JJ.
Hey, JJ.
So The Force Awakens' first screenplay was written by Michael Ardent. But he wasn't really speedy enough. He was like, after about 8 months of working on it, he's like, I need another 18 months. And Disney's like, no fucking way. We have to have this out by fucking 2015. So not longer after that, Abrams and Kasdan take over as writers for the film. Abrams stated that he purposely withheld some plot elements from The Force Awakens, such as Rey and Finn's last names and backgrounds. Kennedy admitted that we haven't mapped out every single detail of the sequel trilogy yet, but said that Abrams was collaborating with Last Jedi director Rian Johnson, and that Johnson would work with Rise of Skywalker's then director Colin Trevorrow to ensure a smooth transition, and that everybody's got a say in how we move forward with this. So it's kind of interesting. So like when people
see that none of that happened. Everything they just said was wrong.
Well, it's kind of crazy when you think about that, because we say, there wasn't really a plan, but if you look at what people are saying about it, there kind of was. And
well, it sounds like the plan was, okay, we're all going to work together to have the plan, but that didn't happen.
Yeah, they clearly didn't really collaborate because the movies are drastically different. Rian Johnson's vision of the Star Wars universe was vastly different than J.J. Abrams.
Yeah, and so you have this weird lopsided trilogy where it's like, okay, it's J.J.'s vision, and then fucking Rian Johnson basically fucked everything that J.J. Abrams was trying to do.
Yeah, then Disney panics like...
And then J.J. tried desperately to unfuck it and ended up fucking it even worse.
And I mean, Daisy Ridley later recounted that J.J. Abrams had written drafts for episodes 8 and 9. So she actually, so she's even saying that, he had a vision to do this, and then for whatever reason, it's like, okay, no.
So just stick with him for all 3 then.
Yeah, which would have made sense.
Just make him the fucking guy. I mean, because, I'll tell you what, I didn't necessarily love his take on it, but I think you'd have a better trilogy if he'd done the whole thing. Maybe it wouldn't be good, but it would at least have some fucking semblance of goddamn consistency.
Clearly it did not.
Now you have, basically the worst, in terms of presenting a coherent narrative throughout 3 films, it's hard to think of a worse example than this new trilogy.
And they have to recall, like we already said, I mean, look, people had waited, 32 years for this fucking movie?
Right.
Yeah, 32 years.
32 years to continue the story from Return of the Jedi, I guess.
And just to have them totally fucking just fumble it. I mean, it's it's horrible. It's horrible what they did to this. I mean, with the amount of time and the amount of money. I mean, like, look, with Disney financing and backing the project, like, cost is not even really a factor. You can't even really believe it is. So this is Lucas whining some more. So in November 2015, Lucas recorded an hour-long interview with CBS News reporter Charlie Rose. Who was that? He was Me Too'd, by the way. In which he said Disney had not been keen to involve him and conceded, if I get in there, I'm just going to cause trouble because they're not going to do what I want them to do. I don't have the control to do that anymore. And all it would do is just muck everything up.
Right.
Just not
that
happy.
seems fair, honestly. I mean,
it's like he's. Yeah, but
I mean, look. I mean, like when he made the prequel trilogy, it's obvious he was surrounded by yes men that just told him his shit.
Oh yeah,
shake.
yes men's wrong.
So I mean, having to actually be in a collaborative capacity where your ideas are not being used, like Lucas. Basically, what I'm hearing from him there is like, I couldn't handle that. I couldn't handle that environment where I was being. My ideas were not just being automatically praised as genius and used.
Well, no one has to even wonder if that's what happened. You can go see the behind the scenes in the making of the prequels, and it's basically just like that. George just be like, Jar Jar Binks, and people go, yeah!
Oh, good one,
yeah, that's funny.
Oh, good job, George. Good.
Looks like he's bleeding.
It does, doesn't it? I call this part of the show the sudden change of heart. So in early December 2015, which is when the Force Awakens was released, Kathleen Kennedy told The Hollywood Reporter that Lucas had seen the movie and liked it. In the same month at the Kennedy Center Honors, Lucas stated, I think the fans are going to love it. It's very much the kind of movie they've been looking for.
Sounds like maybe it was part of Lucas's deal to help them hype up these movies.
Well, clearly someone talked to Lucas and is like, you can't shit talk these movies, dude. We need you to fucking be out there going, it's great. Abrams felt, as in the first in a new trilogy, the film needed to take a couple steps backward into very familiar territory and use plot elements from previous Star Wars films.
Yeah, well, he certainly did that.
Yeah, doing research for this, kind of just made me realize that if you would actually, people would listen to what he was saying about the movies when he was making them, it's like, we kind of, honestly, he did that. It's clear that that's the vision that he did because, obviously most people align The Force Awakens with A New Hope. Because obviously the characters...
because it hits literally every single plot beat
and that's
to a ridiculous extent.
And that's what he said.
It doesn't subvert a single expectation anywhere along the line. It just... how far into the movie were you guys, if you remember? How far into The Force Awakens were you when you realized, this is just A New Hope? Reskin.
Probably about halfway through the movie.
Yeah, probably around there for me, too. It was pretty obvious by that point.
Yeah.
But really early on in the first sequel, I was like, okay, so this is the new Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
Got it.
So when I learned that from the beginning, the plan was there was no plan aside from trotting out fan favorites and pushing the audience's nostalgia button. These movies are simply cash grabs. Disney made an investment, and rather than give us something new, they instead decided to further dilute the Star Wars universe.
Excellent plan.
So finally, 3 years later, we get The Force Awakens.
Dun, 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 dun.
Now, look, for all the flaws of these movies, the hype around this movie was insane. Me and TJ lived in Ohio at the time. We waited outside in fucking, 25-degree weather to even get in the theater.
Oh, yeah.
To see this movie. There's a massive line in front of us. Luckily, we had reserved seating, but if we had not, it was just a madhouse. Everyone was there to see Star Wars. No one gave a fuck about anything else. The theater was it was like herding fucking cattle, dude. It was like in. Almost every screen at the AMC we went to was just Star Wars.
Just compare that to the opening of the last one where it was it wasn't even the full theater.
Couple neckbeards trotted, gonna have some chicken wings and see Star Wars.
I broke my chair.
Oh, yeah, the broken chair, dude.
I broke my chair. This is an outrage.
The best thing about that, I never got to tell you guys the full story. Well, maybe we did, but I'll tell it again here. Was the manager they told us to was also hugely fat. So it was a hugely fat person talking to another hugely fat person and be like, damn sweet worthless here, damn broke. It's like, dude, maybe it's the fact you're 600 pounds.
Yeah, there were a couple of Whoppers in there, man.
Dude, I honestly felt skinny, man. I was
I did too.
I know it was great.
I loved it. I was like, man, that was the best part of my experience that night, was sitting in a room where I was far from the fattest.
Oh, dude, Paul, you and TJ were svelte. compared to that fucking.
Yeah, I was like, man, I'm looking good.
I mean, like, damn, it was just crazy. So how about the critical reception of this? 93% freshness rating, and unlike Indiana Jones, though a lot less user ratings, 86% audience score. So
yeah, when I did a series of polls on my Twitter, which obviously is far from like scientific in terms of measuring this, but of the Star Wars, I mean, I did ask people whether they thought each Star Wars movie was good or bad. And this one, I think it was like 78% of people, something like that, in my audience that saw that Twitter poll and decided to vote in it, liked this movie.
After this came out, I remember what people were feeling. Like,
it seems like most people don't really have too big of a problem with The Force Awakens. I think
people enjoyed it.
Really derivative, but I mean, overall, I don't really remember thinking it was a bad movie. I kind of remember being like, yeah, it was all right, okay. I thought they could do a lot more with it, but then of course The Last Jedi showed up, and it was like, oh, all right, well, this isn't good.
Comparing it to the other two films that came in this trilogy, it probably holds up the most.
I feel like the prequel trilogy, they were all bad, but each one got a little better maybe than the last. I mean, I guess it depends on your point of view, but for me,
Lucas got hammered enough where even like through Yes Man, he heard like that people didn't. I mean, he realized that people were not a huge fan.
But where this trilogy, I feel like it started maybe not strong, but it started with like a decent foundation and just got worse with each successive film, to the point where I think the last one, I'm never going to watch it again. I'll tell you.
But it's hard to argue that audiences did not lap this fucking movie up, though.
Yes.
I mean, looking at 86% right there, I mean...
And let's see, over on Metacritic...
Still solid.
You got, I don't really see a user view there, but it's fucking got 81 on Metascore. And the box office...
the box office blew it out of the fucking water.
Yeah, I mean, the box office is crazy.
For domestic, unadjusted domestic gross, it's number one all time. $936 million.
Almost $1 billion just at home.
Yeah. International... 1.13156 390. Yeah, so I mean it's crazy. $1.1 billion for a grand total of $2,068,223,624 made.
Right.
On a budget of $245 million. So in literally the day, so it's opening weekend in the U.S., it made its budget back.
Right.
So
on the first
crazy.
day.
Yeah, the first day. So adjusted gross, Gone with the Wind, number one all time. But this movie is number 11. It's crazy.
Unadjusted.
Adjusted for inflation. It sold, I believe, 108 million tickets. I mean, it was a cultural phenomenon. I mean, there's no denying that. The number of ticket sales, the amount of money it made. I mean,
and then when I think about that, it's even sadder, just like the lack of enthusiasm for the last movie. Because we went to, I mean, like you said, we waited in the cold and shit to watch this. But by the time the third one came out, it was like we weren't even the theater wasn't even full.
Well, it was just insane. The amount of money this movie made, how quickly it made it. It was just like people it was like, wow, Star Wars is fucking back, dude. It was just this kind of surreal moment. It was like 1977 all over again. And that's really kind of the feeling that people had. I mean, obviously there were definitely detractors, and there's definitely people like, this is not Star Wars. But I think those people at that point were largely viewed as just like the hardcore fanboys. Was like, come on, it's for a new generation. You guys are a bunch of fucking whiners. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it wasn't really until The Last Jedi that things really started to shift away.
That's when I mean, everybody hates that pretty much, except for like the only people I ever see defended are like super like I'm woke and you just don't understand the brilliant themes of this movie or whatever the fuck. But no, the fucking Last Jedi totally fucked it, and then Rise of Skywalker, which, by the way, is the worst Star Wars title, also, is probably the worst Star Wars movie. It's just a mess. It's a fucking mess.
I don't even want to get into that, dude. It's just traumatizing.
We already talked about it. But
so now we come to the last one of the night.
Oh.
Dune. This is 1984's David Lynch's Dune.
Dune.
A place beyond your dreams. A movie beyond your imagination.
I'm a huge fucking Dune fan. I've read the books now. I just finished reading the first 3 books for my 3rd time through.
Cool.
The world building and stuff in Dune is just, it's the perfect pitch of sci-fi for me because it's not all super futuristic. There's a lot of this franchise that's very based in a more realistic kind of technology level. I don't know, dude. I don't know what to say.
Well, this is what I said. This is the film I didn't want to say at the time, but Paul has been waiting a lifetime for. And literally, if you look at it, it almost has been a lifetime. So the original release date of Dune was December 14th, 1984. The remake release date is December 18th, 2020. Total elapsed time, if it goes on schedule, is 36 years, 4 days.
It's basically my life.
Your lifetime.
Yeah.
Okay, so I put, how badly do people want to see it? And I gave this one 11 out of 10. Dune is a seminal work of science fiction, a beloved classic to this day. While many fans enjoy Lynch's 1984 adaptation of the film, the movie does have plenty of detractors, such as the one featured here. Such as the
detracting piece of shit. Boo.
TJ just doesn't get it, dude.
Boo.
You just don't
fucking
get
woke.
it, TJ.
Yeah, I just don't get it.
All right, 1 second, dude. I gotta take a piss. Fucking vamp or something.
Vamp.
So
this is a picture here of Jodorowsky's Dune.
The Dune that should have been.
So we watched, you and I, Paul, we watched the documentary. It was that you had watched it first, but you turned me on to it as well, about this Jodorowsky's Dune by the crazy, I think he's a Spanish filmmaker.
Yeah, Alejandro Jodorowsky.
Yeah, and he did some stuff like The Holy Mountain and Santa Sangra and all these crazy movies that are really well made. And he's like an art house director.
Yeah,
but he had he had like a crazy brilliant plan to adapt Dune, and that was back in 1971, I think. It said, well, let me look at Sky's research here. In summer 1971, film producer Arthur P. Jacobs optioned the film rights to Dune, but died in summer of 1973, while plans for the film, including David Lean, already attached to direct, were still in development. So I guess that in 1974 reverted to the rights reverted to a dude named Jean-Paul Gibbon, with Alejandro Jodorowsky attached to direct. And you watch the documentary Jodorowsky's Dune, and it's just like, it's basically, it sounds like the best movie that was never made. And
yeah.
And basically, like, it would have been Star Wars before Star Wars.
Well, yeah, he was pioneering a lot of the things that would go on to be used in Star Wars.
Totally.
He was right on the bleeding edge of, that kind of practical effects space style.
The opening, the opening of Dune, it was a crazy pan shot that just takes you through the entire cosmos, and he had it all mapped out how he was going to do the special effect. It would have been it would have been basically the greatest special effect that had ever been created. If this movie had actually happened.
So you talk about the fact they wanted Pink Floyd.
Oh my God, the casting was great. Everything was great.
Yeah, I'll talk about that. Salvador Dali as the Emperor.
Yeah, Salvador Dali was going to play the Emperor. Fucking Orson Welles was going to play the fucking Baron Harkonnen, which would have been perfect casting.
You couldn't cast it better.
Mick Jagger as Fade.
Yep, another great casting.
David Carradine as Leto Atreides.
Great,
I like it.
Oh, let's see. Anyone else that? Well, those are the main people that people in our audience would probably recognize.
Yes.
The project ultimately was scrapped for several reasons, largely because funding dried up and the project ballooned to a 10 to 14-hour epic.
Whatever. It would have been awesome.
So I actually, if you want, we can take a look at the trailer for Jodorowsky's Dune.
Okay. The documentary?
Yes.
This is great. I recommend this movie to anybody.
PG-13, we get it. Official selection at many
fue tremenda. I wanted to make something sacred, una película que diera las alucinaciones de LSD. Si tomara LSD to change the young mind of all the world. Michel Siduk said to me, I want to make a new picture with you. What do you want to do? I say, Dune. And he said, yes.
C'était le plus beau livre de science-fiction, c'est la Bible de la science-fiction, un succès d'édition mondiale.
I didn't read Dune, but I have a friend who said it was fantastic.
You gotta love that. The dude that invested all this time and energy and money into this, like, never read it.
I didn't read it, but, friend read it. He said it was good.
I mean, look at some of the fucking just drawings they had made.
3,000 drawings. I shoot the picture.
Well, he basically discovered H.R. Giger.
Yes.
H.R. Giger, who went on to provide the whole visual aesthetic for the Alien films.
Yeah, true, because that had not been made at this point.
He was first kind of discovered and employed on the promotional shots from this movie. And if I see a Giger, I'll call it
Movement
out.
of the camera, dialogue,
Designing the spaceships, the clothes, the whole look of his world.
the castle. Open the mouth, the spaceship.
yeah,
there
it
you
is.
go.
Yep. That's
Right
totally-
there.
So he had this kind of revolutionary idea to, and it even extended to the soundtrack. He wanted to have different bands play different types of music for each house to represent each major house that's in this movie. He also wanted different visual designers completely to take ownership of each one of the major houses in Dune, so that each one had a completely different aesthetic to it.
And a completely different sound.
Right.
Like really drive home
the differences.
the different, worlds and different feels and vibes of each house that is competing here for this, resource of the spice.
I mean, that could have fucking worked out so well because of just like you said, when you have different minds, different perceptions, different visions, that's something that's going to just naturally occur anyways. I mean,
Right.
it's a brilliant idea.
One of the points that's made in this documentary is that if this movie had happened, it would have totally changed the DNA of what we now consider the Hollywood blockbuster, or it had the potential to.
Right.
Like,
I mean, nobody can say if it,
Star
again,
Wars obviously wrote that, Star Wars became the template for what the blockbuster is and probably still is to this day, at least to some extent. If this movie had been the thing that caught fire and was embraced in that popular sort of sense, like you might have a very different cinematic landscape today. I think you almost certainly would.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's no denying that at all.
it
It had a profound impact not being made.
It could have been the case that they made it and it was no good or whatever, but or it didn't do well. But I mean, just like knowing what I know about it, it's almost impossible for me to believe that.
I mean, this film is commonly called the greatest film never made.
Right.
Came
I mean,
in
for-
the tongue.
His vision was so huge, so beyond what anybody else was doing at that time. Things that George Lucas wasn't even going to try with Star Wars. It's enormous.
Another Giger painting.
Part of Hollow's
fortress
genius was finding the
Baron
right
Harkonnen
people.
there.
David Carradine, Mick Jagger. Dali as the Mad Emperor of the Galaxy.
Dali say, can I have a burning giraffe? All right, we'll have burning giraffe.
All right, we have Burning Giraffe. Orson Welles there.
Orson Welles. Yeah, I say, I don't want to do it. I say, if you do the picture, I will hire the chef of the restaurant and you will eat as here every day. And I say, I do it. Giger nunca había hecho.
So he knew exactly how to get fucking Orson Welles to sign on. He's like, I don't want to do that. We'll get the chef of your favorite restaurant to just like live on the set and make you food. He's like,
Yeah.
all right, I'll do it. No problem.
Películas. I say to Giger, I
speaking
need
my
you
language.
as you are.
Alejandro completely motivated you. It was wonderful.
We will change the world.
People did not do this film because they were afraid of his imagination.
This is a movie that has its fingerprints all over so many other movies. Blade Runner, William Gibson, Matrix.
Giger, he make the monster of Alien. And Hollywood start to use my group.
It always leads back to Jodorowsky.
Could be fantastic, no?
Could have been,
Dude, fucking...
but it never was.
Still living that dream, man. Gotta give it to him. So in late 1976, Italian producer Dino De Laurentiis purchased the rights from Gibbons Consortium. De Laurentiis commissioned Herbert to write a new screenplay in 1978. So he actually gets the author of the fucking Dune to actually write the script. So the script Herbert turned in was about 175 pages long, and that's basically the equivalent of nearly 3 hours of screen time.
Right.
De Laurentiis then hired director Ridley Scott in 1979, Rudy Woltzer writing the screenplay, and H.R. Giger retained from the Jodorowsky production. So like I said, they were so impressed with him, they're like, hey, let's just fucking hire him on.
Right.
Scott intended to split the book into 2 movies, which is actually being done currently. He worked on 3 drafts of the script, using the Battle of Algiers as a point of reference, before moving on directing another science fiction film, Blade Runner 1982. As he recalls, the pre-production process was slow, and finishing the project would have been even more time-intensive. And we have a quote from here, but if you actually just watch this clip, TJ, it basically explains it.
Okay, so this is Ridley Scott talking about Dune.
And maybe skip like 10 seconds in.
We tried to get Ridley from the outset, but he was at that point planning to do Dune.
Okay, that's fine.
As I was mixing Alien, Michael Dealey had come to see me at EMI, and I'd known Dealey from his days with EMI. And he said, I got this script, called Blade Runner, and I said, I don't really want to do another science fiction, I just finished one. So, but I'll read it. I read the script, which is Hampton Fancher. It was called Dangerous Days. And I turned it down.
Ridley Scott was going to be the original director on Dune, and Dino De Laurentiis hired him, and their sets were being built. They were going to shoot it, and it was going to be based on the novel, and it was going to be this large-scale science fiction film.
I was attracted to Dune because it was beyond what I'd done on Alien, which was kind of hardcore, kind of horror film, and Dune would be a step very strongly, very, very strongly in the direction of Star Wars.
At this point, something rather sad happened, which is that Ridley's older brother died rather young, obviously, and Ridley was in some depression. He really had to get to work, wanted to do something. When he's working, he's working.
So basically, he was all set to do it, but the amount of work and his older brother dying of cancer, he's just like, I'm not the one to do this movie. So, you know, yet again, it's just falling by the wayside. So another director, another project falls by the wayside with Dune. So, yeah, again, we get still, it seems like, are we ever going to get a Dune movie? I mean, it's been options in 1971. It came out in 1965. At this point, it's almost been 20 years. So we finally get Lynch's screenplay and direction. So in 1981, the 9-year film rights were set to expire. De Laurentiis renegotiated the rights from the author, adding them to the rights of the Dune sequels, written and unwritten. After seeing The Elephant Man, producer Raphael De Laurentiis decided that David Lynch should direct the movie. Around that time, Lynch received several other directing offers, including Return of the Jedi. He agreed to direct Dune and write the screenplay, though he had not read the book, known the story, or even been interested in science fiction. Lynch worked on the script for 6 months with Eric Bergen and Christopher Davor. The team yielded 2 drafts of the script before they split over creative differences. Lynch subsequently worked on 5 more drafts. So already you can see from that, David Lynch is probably not the ideal person to direct Dune.
This movie just has a fucking fraught history.
Well, it really does.
I think there's a reason for it, honestly.
You think the story is just so complicated and expansive that it's
not
just really hard to
necessarily
do?
Complicated, because I don't want to represent it as overcomplicated, but expansive definitely covers it. I mean, it is literally a book that if you go into the trilogy, it's about everything on the linear time scale. I mean, it's not just this small kind of sci-fi story that takes place on one planet. It's literally expands the boundaries of reality and how that interplays with this far distant time. And it's insane how much detail and world building and story building went into creating this universe, and translating that into movie form is no fucking small feat.
Not at all.
If you're trying to capture what made the book great, which is exactly what I just mentioned.
Right.
So, you know, that's a tall order.
Oh, there's no denying that. So Virginia Madsen, who played Princess Erlon in the movie, kind of a minor role, said in 2016 that she was signed for 3 films, as the producers thought they were going to make Star Wars for grown-ups. And that's a common refrain you hear about Dune. This is going to be Star Wars, but for grown-ups.
It really,
I've even heard them say that about the new one.
One of the things I like about Lynch's Dune is that I know it came out under the umbrella of Star Wars, but I feel like for a big, expansive sci-fi movie that came out post-Star Wars, it really wasn't trying very hard to rip off the aesthetic of Star Wars. It has its own look and its own feel that doesn't feel like a total fucking ripoff.
So on March 30th, 1983, with a 135-page 6th draft of the script, Dune finally began.
6th draft.
So 6 drafts.
6th draft of the one starting with Lynch, though.
Yeah, with Lynch.
Not overall, because obviously there were way more scripts before that. I mean, there's tons.
Right.
So many attempts to make.
Well, Frank Herbert wrote the script for the Ridley Scott one that never went anywhere. Then they had other ones. So I mean, yeah, this is basically of course Jodorowsky's. I mean,
he wrote some scripts. He probably wrote more than one. I'm
sure. Yeah, there's many drafts of this movie. There's many conceptions of this movie. So this is something I learned. It was shot entirely in Mexico, with a budget of over $40 million. Dune required 80 sets built on 16 sound stages and a total crew of 1,700.
Damn.
I mean, so when Paul's talking about the scale, like, just think about that. This is back in 1983. The studio's basically putting up $40 million. They have 1,700 people, and they have fucking 16 sound stages. I mean, it's just crazy, the scope of this movie.
It's another thing that's great about this movie is like the set design and set piece action stuff that they did, the green screen and the crazy fucking practical effects that they did, the costuming. It all reflects just like somebody spent a lot of money to make this film, and it helps. It helps to kind of establish some of the sweeping nature of the story.
So the rough cut of Dune, without post-production effects, ran over 4 hours. But Lynch's intended cut of the film, as reflected in the 7th and final draft of the script, so by the way, we finally get to lucky number 7, was almost 3 hours long. So you think, okay, 3 hours, I mean, that could work. Universal and the film's financiers expected a standard 2-hour cut of the film. So, of course, the studio's like, no, 3 hours, that's too fucking long. We need a 2-hour fucking movie. Dana De Laurentiis, his daughter Rafaela, and Lynch excised numerous scenes, filmed new scenes that simplified or concentrated plot elements and added voiceover narrations. So, Paul, what you just talked about is just like they basically, a lot of the world building and stuff they did, that just gets cut out and is simplified. Like the whole beginning thing in Dune is actually one of those things. Like when they talk about, they have the spice melange and they talk about all that.
I mean, it opens like the book does. The book opens with this narrative from Princess Irulan. So they ended up just going that route rather than showing some big sweeping intro. I've read a little bit about the stuff that hit the cutting room floor. I would love to see like a full 3.5 hour cut of, this movie, but it's not the greatest movie ever made, but it's definitely not a terrible film that like some people try and make it out to be.
According to this, contrary to rumor, Lynch made no other version besides the theatrical cut. So if people were hoping for some Lynch director's cut, that ain't happening.
Right.
A television version aired in 1988 with 2 parts totaling 186 minutes, including a What Happened Last Night recap and second credit roll. Lynch disavowed this version and had his name removed from the credits, Alan Smithy being credited instead.
I gotta love that Alan Smithy credit.
This version has been occasionally released on DVD as Dune Extended Edition. Several longer versions have been spliced together. Although Universal has approached Lynch for a possible director's cut, Lynch has declined every offer and prefers not to discuss Dune in interviews.
So he is kind of personally ashamed of this movie.
He's basically disavowed this movie.
He doesn't like it. He doesn't want to fuck with it. He's just like, fuck that. I'm on other things.
It's a shame.
And, another thing is, I remember when we were watching Jodorowsky's Dune, the documentary, obviously, since there's no actual movie. I remember Jodorowsky just talking about like how heartbroken he was when this movie was finally happening, and he said he sat down in the theater and was watching it, and he's just like, "Oh, this is horrible because it's going to be David Lynch, and he's going to make this brilliant version of Dune, and then I'll never have," because he still hadn't let go of the dream of having his own version of Dune.
Yeah, especially at that time.
And so he watches the Lynch version. He's like, "Oh, this is ass." Okay, so I don't even have to worry about this because this is terrible. But obviously,
let's do the critical reception of this film.
So critical response, 53% from critics, a little bit more forgiving from the audience, but still not a tremendous score. Rotten from critics, 47 users, audience score 66%, with about 70,000 users having rated it.
Who cares about all these plebs? There's one particular guy I really want to hear from, TJ.
Who's that?
I think you know who it is.
Who is it?
Fuck this.
Who is it? It's Paul's rival.
Ugh.
Oh, dude, anytime I cover anything with movies, I always look and see, did Roger Ebert write a review?
Roger Ebert, Paul's buddy.
1 star, Paul. Do you feel that's fair?
No. No, I don't think it's anywhere near fair. I mean, like, I wouldn't give this like a 4-star for, I don't know what his stars went up to. Was it 4 or 5?
I think it was 4.
Yeah, I believe it's 4.
So, yeah, I wouldn't say this is a 4-star movie, but a 1 star, I mean, come on.
It took Dune about 9 minutes to completely strip me of anticipation. This movie is a real mess, an incomprehensible, ugly, unstructured, pointless excursion into the murkier realms of one of the most confusing screenplays of all time. Even the color is no good. Everything is seen through a dusty yellow filter, as if the film left out in the sun too long. Yes, you might say, but the action is, after all, on a desert planet where there isn't a drop of water and there's sand everywhere. David Lean solved the problem in Lawrence of Arabia, where he made the desert look beautiful and mysterious, not shabby and drab.
This is not supposed to be a terrestrial desert, though. Well, whatever. Fuck this guy. Roger Ebert doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about.
Let's go to the bottom to his conclusion, TJ.
All right.
Nobody looks very happy in this movie.
It's not a happy movie.
Actors stand around in ridiculous costumes, mouthing dialogue that has little or no context. They're not even given scenes that work on a self-contained basis. Portentous lines of profundity are allowed to hang in the air unanswered, with additional characters arrive or leave on unexplained errands. Dune looks like a project that was seriously out of control from the start. Sets were constructed, actors were hired, no usable screenplay was ever written. Everybody faked it as long as they could. Some shabby special effects were thrown into the pot, and producers crossed their fingers and hoped that everyone who had read the books will want to see the movie. Not if word gets out, they won't.
Wow. I think it's overly harsh. I think the movie looks really cool during a lot of its runtime.
Well, hey, I mean, did we at least get a successful film out of Dune? I mean, look, there's a lot of problems with it. Nope, not at all.
No, we didn't.
Domestic opening, $6 million.
Just kind of flopped.
International didn't seem like it received one.
What was
Overall,
the budget?
The $40 million.
$40 million.
Yeah, it's a
$30 million worldwide. So
I mean,
they flushed $10 million down the toilet with this one.
Probably a little more.
A lot more. They extensively promoted this film.
And not to mention, I mean, like, does that $40 million budget really count the years and years and decades that this script was in fucking development? I'm sure it doesn't.
Probably not.
How many people how much sweat and blood and tears went into trying to make this movie, and unfortunately, just not able to get a successful film at the end of it.
So
no light at the end of the tunnel. But maybe there's light at the end of the new tunnel.
Before we get to
this...
this...
well, yeah, we got to talk about this.
We got to talk
I
about
guess.
this.
I forgot about this
now,
one.
before we continue, let's get something out of the way. Well, we're aware that this exists, and if you're listening, it's unfortunately Sci-Fi Channel's stab at making Dune.
It is. I think it's one of the reasons why the Lynch dude holds up so well for me, because this was the most disappointing piece of shit I ever
That's
saw.
That's why I wrote about it. This version is total garbage, not only in its scope, but its execution. Additionally, here's part of my argument as well, not to include this and say this is actually a film version. It's classified on IMDb as a TV miniseries. Arguably, you could say it's a Dune film, but I wish it would just be devoured by a fucking sandworm. This is garbage. This is
I
horrible.
remember I sat through all of this.
I did as well. We watched it
I don't
together.
know why, but I sat down and I watched this from start to fucking finish, and I think it's like 6 hours long or some shit.
It is incomprehensibly long.
It's so long, and it's so boring, and it's so bad. And it's like they do actually get to most of the plot points of Dune.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
it's done so lovelessly and artlessly, and
it feels rote. It feels like there's no, like I said, there's no scope. There's no real.
Like,
vision
then they
in
go
this.
here and do this. Then they go here and
It's
do
like
this. Then they go here and do this.
It's like they tried to cure the fact that, okay, it's like, look, we have this vision. We see Jodorowsky's doing it's 10 to 14 hours. There's some crazy vision, and we see David Lynch's too condensed down. So we're going to kind of make this where it's a series where we're going to get like 3 parts of this, and it's going to be like 2 hours apiece, and it's going to be great, and it's going to cover all the shit that was left out in these other ones. And like you said, it's just a loveless treatment of the material.
It's pretty horribly cast.
Yeah.
Like, none of the primary characters are all that great. The visual design element of it is just so fucking...
It's ass.
It's bargain basement and shitty. I mean, it just like has no fucking... No scope and no vision at all.
Just look at the fucking cover here. I mean, just look at how fucking... This is just nothing. This doesn't make me feel like this is Dune. This just makes me feel like this is the fucking ripoff of Dune that you find in, like, where it's called, like, Sand or something. And it's a bargain basement ripoff. This is not Dune. This does not have the scope or scale of Dune. And I just feel like if anyone tries to make that argument, this is garbage. It should be just disqualified from consideration.
Oh, yeah.
So
the Paramount's in the game, though.
So Paramount's in the game. So the crazy thing is that, yet again, the version of Dune we're getting has been a long time coming. So in 2008, Paramount Pictures announced they had a new feature film adaptation of Frank Herbert's Dune in development with Peter Berg. I think I pulled a picture of him, TJ. Or maybe I didn't.
I don't see
I didn't. Okay, whatever. Doesn't matter.
Is that Peter Berg?
Nope. That's Denis Villeneuve.
That's the new guy. So we don't have a Peter Berg.
Oh,
but Peter Berg, he did The Rundown and Friday Night Lights. So thank God that didn't happen.
So he was set to direct. Berg left the project in October of 2009, with director Pierre Morel brought on to direct in January 2010 before Paramount dropped the project in March 2011.
So basically they made some kind of furtive attempt to adapt it again with Peter Berg. Terrible choice.
Yeah, I don't get that choice.
I don't know about this Pierre Morel guy.
So yet again, dude, Dune fans get cock teased. They're like, Paramount,
we're going to make Dune.
We're doing it. We're doing it.
No,
Oh, God, we're going to do it right.
We ain't doing it.
No, never mind.
So then Legendary enters the game.
So Legendary stepped in.
They get the rights.
On November 21st, 2016, it was announced that Legendary Pictures had acquired the film and TV rights for Dune. In December 2016, Variety reported that director, now you can pull him up, Denis Villeneuve. I don't know how you say his last name.
Villeneuve.
Oh, just Villeneuve? Okay.
Yep.
Villeneuve.
Was in talks with the studio to direct the film. In September 2016, Villeneuve expressed his interest in the project, saying that, quote, a long-standing dream of mine is to adapt Dune, but it's a long process to get the rights, and I don't think I will succeed.
Well, luckily you did.
So he was kind of like, he was kind of waxing poetic on it, like, I really want to make this, but how am I going to get the fucking rights? So this is Brian Herbert. So on February 1st, 2017, Brian Herbert, the son of Frank, confirmed that Villeneuve would be directing the project. In March 2018, Villeneuve stated that his goal was to adapt the novel into a 2-part film series. Eric Roth was hired to co-write the screenplay in April with John, I don't know how you fucking say his name, Spatz? Yeah, what a weird fucking last name.
I don't know.
Who was the writer on films such as Prometheus and Doctor Strange, was later confirmed to be co-writing the script along with Roth and Villeneuve. So, Paul, if this is going to give you heart, Eric Roth has been nominated 5 times for the Academy Award for Best Adapted Screenplay. He wrote Forrest Gump, or was a writer on Forrest Gump, The Insider, Munich, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, and A Star is Born, which that's not as great for me. Winning for Forrest Gump. He also wrote the screenplay for the Oscar-nominated film Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close.
So, I mean, he's a good screenwriter.
So he's a good screenwriter. I mean, Villeneuve has proved himself a pretty competent director. So Villeneuve said in May 2018, the first draft of the script had been finished. Then he says, most of the main ideas of Star Wars are coming from Dune, so it's going to be a challenge to tackle this. The ambition is to do a Star Wars movie I've never saw. In a way, it's Star Wars for adults. So that's something that Hollywood's definitely trying to sell. Like,
they really like to push that Star Wars for adults.
Yeah, that's something I've
really
heard.
Hard.
I heard doing research for the Dune part of
Star Wars for adults,
it's
y'all.
Star Wars.
Star Wars for adults, goddammit.
So further news, in July 2018, Brian Herbert confirmed the latest draft of the screenplay covered approximately half of the novel Dune. Legendary CEO Joshua Grode confirmed April 2019 that the plan to make a sequel, adding that there's a logical place to stop the first movie before the book is over. We'll have to see.
I guess we will.
So here is some of the casting we have here.
I will tell you this. If this ends up being a big hit, Jason Momoa has a career ahead of him.
Jason Momoa has a career already. Man.
Well, I just mean like
like he takes him to the next level.
Because Duncan Idaho is a central figure in the later books.
Oh,
so
for sure.
If he,
I see what you're saying.
He's kind of what ties the whole universe together. He's this guy that just gets endlessly cloned, and so he's always like thousands of years go by, but he's the only kind of person that stays the same.
Well, something
throughout.
I like about this is that the filming began March 18th, 2019 at Origo Film Studios in Budapest, Hungary. And obviously the desert scenes took place in Jordan. So they filmed a lot of the desert in Jordan. Filming was completed in July 2019. So this movie has been shot. Now we're going to take a look at the cast, which we already have for a second.
Why do we have so little of it if it's already been, like, I guess there's a lot of post-production work going on.
Some of it's probably they just don't want, they want people to kind of like, who's going to play that role?
I want to know who they're going to get to play Fade and Alia.
I looked for that. I could not find anything about that. So maybe I didn't look at the right spot.
Well, it looks like they don't know in this image they've created here either.
No, I thought an interesting connection between Star Wars and this was Oscar Isaac plays Poe in the new Star Wars trilogy. So they literally have someone from a Star Wars universe coming in to play Duke Leto Atreides. Obviously, we know Duke Leto doesn't last too long, but Josh Brolin, Batista, Stellan Skarsgård, got a lot of fucking Jason Momoa. We got a lot of fucking big name actors. Now, the guy playing Paul, I'm not really too familiar with him.
I'm not either, but like I said, like if this ends up being like a giant movie franchise where they try and cover it all, Paul's, he's dead in the middle of the second book. He's gone. There's no Paul. So the real enduring, there's going to be a new casting for Leto II, and Jason Momoa, if he does well in this, will just hold on to one of the juiciest roles in fucking Hollywood.
If this movie is a hit, yeah. I mean, so yeah, like their sister Alia, that's not known. Scroll down, TJ. There's some more people. Mm-hmm. So the Fremen,
Javier Bardem.
He's playing Stilgar. That's a huge role too, and I think he's a good choice for it.
Definitely a good choice. So this one we have not got yet. So the wait, this could even be a longer wait. So I mean, Paul, look, 36 years. Is it the time have the stars align? Are you going to finally get the Dune movie? And not only you, that many of the fans of Dune have wanted for so long.
I mean, my hopes are pretty fucking high. I got to be honest with you.
And you're a pessimist, so that's saying a lot.
Yeah, I've got high hopes for this one. I like the director. I like a lot of the casting choices. I think Stellan Skarsgård is a great choice for Baron Harkonnen. He's not huge and fat, but maybe they're doing something with that. Maybe they're putting him in a big fat suit.
They're looking into that.
So you guys, actually, I was looking to see if there's any new Dune story. This is a breaking story from today.
Awesome.
First Dune remake footage earns big praise, gets compared to Lord of the Rings.
Awesome.
The first Dune footage has screened. The preview was shown to a small group of industry insiders and has already been hailed as epic. Principal photography wrapped not that long ago, and Denis Villeneuve is currently in the post-production phase to prepare the long-awaited movie for release at the end of the year. As the footage that was shown, it was mixed in with cast interviews and behind-the-scenes shots. It does not seem it was intended for public release, so don't expect to see it anytime soon.
It'll be on the special edition DVD, I'm sure.
Blah, 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 blah. So the fact, I mean, like the news basically is someone somewhere has seen it.
So basically, this guy, Brian Clement, is basically, it says, I think it's like a sci-fi author.
According to Brian Clement, Villeneuve has succeeded.
And he has some tweets I guess we can go take a look at.
He had this to say and added some pretty crazy comparisons. As a follow-up, my opinion on new Dune based only on the footage I saw, since people are curious. I think this will blow people away the way Lord of the Rings did 20 years ago, the way Star Wars did 40 years ago. It's not Jodorowsky or Lynch, but maybe Villeneuve has filmed the unfilmable.
High praise. For sure.
While the new Dune probably isn't like Star Wars or Lord of the Rings, it seems that Brian Clement is positive the movie will leave a lasting impact on the world of cinema like the aforementioned movies did. Clement went on to describe the footage as a mix of grimy realism mixed with dreamy imagery, which sounds like Blade Runner 2049. Also, the promo footage contained a few shots of Timothée Chalamet as Paul Atreides, including a few in his still suit. A small amount of footage of Stellan Skarsgård as Baron Harkonnen was also seen in the Dune footage, along with a tiny bit of Jason Momoa. Brian Clement went on to tease that the choice of actor for playing Keynes will be a surprise for audiences, while David Bautista apparently looks creepy in the footage. As to when fans will get to see said footage or the first trailer, Clement has no idea, but knowing that the promo footage exists could mean that the trailer is on the way. I got to imagine a teaser is impending, right?
The next really big movie is going to have a Dune trailer.
I can't wait, man. I'm jazzed for the teaser trailer for this.
I mean, yeah, like
I want to see it.
Arrakis.
I feel like I'm glad that I know Paul in terms of this movie, just because like I'm kind of like getting some like secondhand excitement.
I'm telling you, man. Like,
I'm excited for the movie, but like the fact that you're so excited about it is kind of bringing my excitement level up.
Doing the
I'm
research for this
hype about it.
and seeing how close. So it's like we're going to get it.
Like the
are we going to
fucking
get it? Are we going to get it?
Multi-decade-long cock tease of trying to get this movie made and get it made right. I mean, just like going back to 71 with this shit. I mean, this is fucking nuts.
I mean, you know what? Will this be the generation that finally gets Dune done, man? Can it happen?
I mean, I think it can.
I mean, I think that if it can live up to the hype of all this stuff that's being talked about, it could be like the movie of our fucking generation or whatever the fuck.
When you look at a lot of films, it's like, because I was like, look, I'm going to be as objective as possible. Can I really poke a hole in what I've seen and what's publicly known? And the answer is no. I can't look. I was like, let me look at the writers. Are they shit writers? Someone write some fucking bullshit. Like, is the writer from Norm of the North also the writer for fucking, Dune? The answer is no. They have, they have Villeneuve, they have Eric Roth, who's obviously Academy Award-winning writer. It doesn't necessarily mean he's everything, but it's Forrest Gump. That's a great fucking movie. It's a classic fucking movie.
Yeah. I mean, so they got real talent behind it.
They have a good editor. They have a good editor. They have a good cinematographer. It's like they went on location. I mean, Villeneuve seems to be one of the most talented directors currently living. I mean, everything points to this could be what we want it to be. I don't want to be overly optimistic, but I am very optimistic for this movie.
Yeah, I mean, it could be tragically horrible, too.
It could be.
You never know.
I mean, like, yeah, that's definitely a fucking... I mean, like, when expectations are this high, it's like, it can be hard to meet them, so...
I think one of the things this has going for it, though, is I don't know that, like, in a general way, audiences are overhyped for this. Like, Dune
Right.
is an older book that not a lot of younger people have had any experience with and shit. And so I think that actually plays into its favor, because if they make a really good movie, it could reinvigorate people's interest in the whole franchise.
Dune doesn't have the baggage. Like, how I talk about politics.
I mean, you're
like,
definitely going to see a lot of sales of the book leading up to the movie, I'd imagine. Like, especially if the teaser trailer and like whenever a real trailer like when you start to see real like images coming out from this movie, I mean, it seems like they're really keeping it under tight fucking control right now.
This movie has the potential.
So there's a lot of curiosity
to be a renaissance for science fiction if it pulls it off right. It really does. I mean, look what the impact Star Wars had. That's why. I mean, so that the hype like that, he's saying it has the potential. I have to agree. I don't think that's actually even being overhyped. It really does. If it can achieve what he's talking about, I mean, this is honestly there's no other film out there that I think is more exciting than this film.
Yep. I guess we'll see.
We'll have to see. I'm stoked, but I don't know. Well, guys, let us know what you think. Are you fucking stoked?
And let us know what movies you waited a long time for. You know, and whether it be sequels or adaptations or whatever. What did you wait an interminably long time for, or what are you still waiting for them to?
Yeah, you might be waiting. You know, Half-Life 3. There's a lot of things. I mean,
Post Malone's new album. I mean, come on.
What? There's a lot of things.
How long am I supposed to wait, Posty?
Keep waiting, Paul.
It's been 3 weeks.
Posty's got to do his sponsorships, man.
Maybe he's going to do a surprise album like Eminem. Just put it out there out of the fucking blue. Like, boom. There you go.
Don't tease me, TJ.
Maybe. You never know. All right, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time here on Deep Fat Fried, greatest podcast of all time.
Woo!
And once again, I just want to remind people that I have tremendous influence in Dutch politics, and
good job.
Probably
TJ.
The greatest fucking
TJ
of all time.
Influencer of Dutch politics.
Thank you. See,
there you go. You're great.
Even my idiot co-hosts have
Your
to
esteemed
acknowledge
colleagues,
my greatness.
You got a golf clap out of me.
Yeah. That's all I can really
TJ,
expect.
you tooted your horn enough.
No, I haven't.
All right, well, do it by yourself.
When is the TJ movie going to happen? That's what I want to know.
Never.
Yeah.
Deep Fat Fried. Deep Fat Fried. Deep Fat Fried.